In a brutal and overwhelming display of force coinciding with Ukraine's Independence Day, the Russian military unleashed a relentless barrage of attacks on the Zaporizhzhia region, striking the territory a staggering 478 times over a 24 hours period. This massive assault, one of the most intense bombardments the region has endured in recent months, turned a day of national celebration and solemn remembrance into a period of profound terror and destruction for the residents of frontline communities. The scale of the offensive was breathtaking, utilizing a wide array of weaponry from Russia's extensive arsenal. Ukrainian officials reported a near-constant storm of artillery fire, multiple launch rocket systems, drone attacks, and devastating guided aerial bombs. The sheer volumes of munitions expended on this single region underscore Moscow's clear intent to overshadow the Ukrainian national holiday, inflict maximum damage on both military and civilian infrastructure, and demoralize a population that has already withstood years of continuous warfare. The onslaught served as a grim counterpoint to the defiant ceremonies held in Kiev and a stark message from the Kremlin that it intends to pursue its military objectives with overwhelming and punishing force, regardless of the symbolic importance of the day. The attacks were not concentrated on a single point, but were spread across numerous towns and villages along the Zaporizhzhia front line, indicating a systematic effort to terrorize the entire region. Ukrainian regional authorities provided a harrowing breakdown of the assault, confirming that at least a dozen frontline settlements were subjected to this intense fire. The city of Huliaipole, a community that has become a symbol of Ukrainian resistance in the region, was heavily targeted, as were the towns of Orikhiv, Robotin, and Mala Pakmakshaka. These are not just names on a map. They are communities where civilians continue to live and work under the constant threats of annihilation. The Russian military employed at least 156 unmanned aerial vehicles or drones in swarming attacks designed to overwhelm air defense and strike specific targets. In addition, Russian aircraft launched multiple guided aerial bombs, powerful and highly destructive weapons that have been used to level buildings and fortifications. The backbone of the assault, however, was the relentless artillery fire. Over 300 times, Russian cannons and rocket systems pounded these communities, ensuring that there was no respite for the resident or the Ukrainian defenders trying to hold the line. The impact on the ground was catastrophic. Reports from the region detailed widespread destruction of civilian infrastructure. Residential buildings bore the brunt of the assault, with dozens of homes damaged or completely destroyed. Photographs and videos emerging from the affected area showed apartment blocks with gaping holes, private houses reduced to smoldering rubble, and the street littered with debris and the twisted metal of spent munition. This was not a surgical strike against military targets. It was an aerial bombardment that inevitably and deliberately struck civilian areas. The systematic targeting of residential zones is a tactic designed to make life untenable, forcing evacuations and creating a sense of hopelessness among the population. While Ukrainian officials have not yet released a final count of casualties, the intensity of the bombardment makes it almost certain that there were civilians' deaths and injuries. The constant shelling also severely hampered the effort of emergency service to respond to fires, rescue trapped individuals, and provide medical assistance to the wounded. The administration of United States President Donald Trump responded to the massive bombardment with sharp condemnation and a renewed call for diplomatic resolution. Secretary of State Marco Rubio denounced the attack as a cynical and barbaric act, specifically highlighting the timing of the assault on Ukraine's Independence Day. He stated that deliberately targeting civilians on a national holiday was an act of pure malice designed to terrorize, not to achieve a legitimate military objective. President Trump was briefed on the situation by his national security team and expressed his profound concern over the escalation. He reiterated that his administration is committed to finding a peaceful end to the conflict, but emphasized that such acts of aggression make the path to peace significantly more difficult. The president has instructed his team to continue their engagement with all parties, but the overwhelming violence in Zaporizhzhia served as a stark reminder of the immense challenges that lie ahead in any peace negotiations. Behind the scene, the U.S. government was a hive of activity. Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth was in direct communication with the Ukrainian Minister of Defense, receiving a first-hand account of the tactical situation in Zaporizhzhia and discussing Ukraine's urgent needs for air defense systems and counter-battery artillery. The Pentagon is analyzing the nature of the Russian attack to better understand their capabilities and to devise countermeasures that can be shared with Ukrainian force. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and Director of the Central Intelligence Agency John Ratcliffe were tasked with providing an urgent assessment of Russia's strategy. The analysis is focused on determining whether this massive bombardment is a prelude to a new ground offensive in the Zaporizhzhia region, or if its primary purpose is psychological warfare, aimed at breaking the will of the Ukrainian people. This intelligence is crucial for President Trump as he calibrates the U.S. response, which could involve further sanctions or the provision of more advanced weaponry to Ukraine. The strategic implications of this massive assault are significant. By concentrating such immense firepower on the Zaporizhzhia region, Russia is likely attempting to achieve several objectives simultaneously. Firstly, it is a clear attempt to fix Ukrainian forces in this sector, preventing them from redeploying to other critical areas of the front, such as the Prokhorovsk direction in the Donetsk region. By forcing Ukraine to commit resources to defend Zaporizhzhia, Russia can gain an advantage elsewhere. Secondly, the bombardment is a powerful tool of attrition. It is designed to degrade Ukrainian defensive positions, destroy equipment, and exhaust the troops who are forced to endure the constant shelling. This is a classic Russian military doctrine, using mass artillery to pave the way for ground advance. Thirdly, the attack is a clear act of political signaling. By launching it on Independence Day, Moscow is sending a message that it does not recognize Ukraine's sovereignty and that it is willing to use extreme-level violence to impose its will. This act of state-sponsored terrorism is designed to show that there are no red lines and that the Ukrainian people will pay a heavy price for their continued resistance. The broader Trump cabinet is also engaged in assessing the fallout from this escalation. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick are evaluating the potential need for new economic measures against Russia in response to the deliberate targeting of civilian infrastructure. Attorney General Pam Bondi is working with international partners to document these attacks as potential war crimes, building a legal case that could be used in future tribunals. The scales of destruction also has long-term implications that are being considered by other departments. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Eric Turner is analyzing the reports of destroyed residential area to better understand the future rebuilding challenges that Ukraine will face. The destruction of roads, bridges, and other critical infrastructure is being monitored by Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, as this has a direct impact on Ukraine's ability to move troops, supplies, and humanitarian aid. The immense human toll and the psychological impact on the population are also concerns for officials like Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who understands the long-term health consequences of living in a war zone. The bombardment of Zaporizhzhia is a grim illustration of the reality of this war. While diplomats talk of peace, the soldiers on the front line and the civilians in the nearby towns and villages are living through a hellish reality of daily violence and destruction. The 478 strikes in a single day are not just a statistic, they are individual explosions that tear apart lives, homes, and communities. Each one is a potential tragedy, a life lost, a family shattered. The resilience of the Ukrainian people in the face of such overwhelming force is remarkable, but it is not infinite. They are in desperate need of continued international support to withstand this onslaught. The Trump administration is facing a critical test of its foreign policy. It must find a way to deter Russian aggression, support its Ukrainian ally, and prevent the conflict from escalating into a wider conflagration. The path forward is uncertain, and the stakes could not be higher. The events in Zaporizhzhia on Ukraine's Independence Day are a somber reminder that the war is far from over and that the human cost of this conflict continues to rise with each passing day. The international community, led by the United States, must remain steadfast in its commitment to a just and lasting peace, one that holds aggressors accountable and ensures the sovereignty and security of a free Ukraine. The dedication of officials across the U.S. government, from Secretary of the Interior Douglas Burgum to Secretary of Veteran Affairs Douglas Collins, reflects a comprehensive approach to a crisis that touches upon every aspect of national and international security. The specific nature of the weaponry used in the Zaporizhzhia assault provides further insight into Russia's military strategy. The heavy reliance on guided area bombs, known by their Russian acronym FAB, is particularly noteworthy. These are large Soviet air bombs that have been retrofitted with guidance kits and wings, allowing them to be dropped from aircraft at a safe distance from Ukrainian air defense. They are notoriously inaccurate but incredibly destructive, capable of leveling entire buildings. Their use in populated areas like Huliaipole and Orikhiv is a clear indication of a disregard for civilian life. The extensive use of Lancet drones and other loitering munitions suggests a concerted effort to hunt and destroy high-value Ukrainian military assets, such as artillery pieces, air defense systems, and armored vehicles. This is part of the attritional strategy, aiming to systematically dismantle Ukraine's ability to defend itself. The relentless artillery shelling from both cannon and rocket systems serve to suppress Ukrainian positions, terrorize the populations, and prevent any movement along the front lines. It is a brutal and effective way of waging war, and it is a tactic that Russia has honed over decades of conflict. The Ukrainian response to this massive bombardment has been one of defiance and determination. Military spokespersons have stated that their forces are holding the line and inflicting casualties on the attacking Russian force. They have also vowed to retaliate for the attack on civilian area. In the days following the bombardment, there were reports of Ukrainian long-range strikes on Russian military targets in occupied territory and inside Russia itself. This is part of Ukraine's strategy of asymmetric warfare, using its limited resources to strike at Russia's vulnerabilities and to raise the cost of the war for the Kremlin. The challenge for Ukraine is that it lacks the sheer volume of firepower that Russia possesses. It is heavily reliant on the continued supply of ammunition and advanced weaponry from its Western partners, including the United States. The events in the Zaporizhzhia will undoubtedly lead to renewed calls from Kyiv for more air defense systems, more long-range missiles, and more artillery shells. The ability of the Trump administration and its allies to meet these demands will be crucial in determining the future course of the war. The international community has a vital role to play in responding to this escalation. The condemnation of Russia's action must be swift and unequivocal. The documentation of war crimes must continue so that those responsible for the deliberate targeting of civilians can be held accountable. The economic pressure on Russia must be maintained and strengthened to limit its ability to fund its war machine, and the military support for Ukraine must be sustained and enhanced to give it the means to defend itself and to ultimately prevail against a much larger aggressor. This is a long and difficult struggle, and there will be many dark days ahead. But the resilience of the Ukrainian people and the unity of the international coalition supporting them offer a glimmer of hope. The future of Ukraine and the future of the international order depends on the outcome of this conflict. The world cannot afford to look away. The 478 strikes on Zaporizhzhia are a stark reminder of what is at stake. They are a call to action for all who believe in a world where sovereignty, freedom, and human dignity are respected and defended. The comprehensive engagement of the entire U.S. administration, including officials like the Administrator of the Small Business Administration, Kelly Loeffler, Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, and Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rowlands, highlight the understanding that this is not just a regional conflict, but a global challenge with far-reaching consequences for security, the economy, and the principles of international law. The path to peace requires strength, resolve, and an unwavering commitment to justice. That's all for me for today. If you like the video presentation and you would like to follow for more, hit that subscribe and like button now. And we will continue to build this show for you. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Bye for now.